October 12, 1492, was the day that would change everything. The sea-scented wind blew across a ship's flag as Christopher Columbus sailed to America. Was he a daring man full of adventure, or was he a murderer, slave owner, and rapist? For the native people, his arrival marked the beginning of death, genocide, and slavery. On his first day, he ordered for 6 natives to be killed. He wrote in his log, "They brought us parrots and balls of cotton and spears and many other things, which they exchanged for the glass beads and hawksbills. They willingly traded everything they owned. They do not bear arms, and do not know them, for I showed them a sword. They took it by the edge and cut themselves out of ignorance. They would make fine servants. With 50 men we could subjugate them all and make them do whatever you want." Every year on the second Monday of October, we're always told as kids that we should celebrate Christopher Columbus because he was an amazing man that founded the place we call home. Today, Christopher Columbus' legacy is still a point of conflict. While most children in the public school system are told that Christopher Columbus was brave and heroic, many activists and scholars say he was a murderer who should not be celebrated. We start learning about Christopher Columbus from a very young age. One example of a source that children are given about what a great man Christopher Columbus was is the Big Golden Book of Christopher Columbus and Other Early Adventures by Russell Bourne. On page 14, this book states, "Christopher Columbus is famous because he dreamed a great dream and had the courage and skill to act on it." On pages 32 and 33, it talks about the natives or Indians attacking because the Spaniards took their belongings, but nothing about how Christopher Columbus treated them.
500 years ago, there were people on both sides of the Atlantic Ocean, but neither knew about the other. On the western side, our side, the people had reddish-brown skins and lived in huts or wigwams. On the eastern side, in Europe, the people were white-skinned. They had learned how to build houses and large sailing ships, but they still didn't know much about the rest of the world. The people Columbus called Indians were very friendly, and they gave Columbus and his men many gifts, but not the rich jewels and gold for which they had come. Columbus made 2 more voyages, and other explorers followed. But each year on October 12th, we celebrate Columbus Day, the anniversary of that day in 1492, when Columbus first sighted the land of the New World, America.
Oh, hi-ho, Kermit the Frog here of Sesame Street News, and I'm speaking to you today from Spain, where Christopher Columbus is about to set sail to discover America.
In just 2 years under Columbus' governorship, through murder, mutilation, being worked to death, or suicide, more than half the 250,000 Indians in Haiti were dead. There were 60,000 people living on this island in 1508, including both Spaniards and Indians, so that between 1494 and 1508, more than 3 million people died from war, slavery, and the mines. Throughout his years in the New World, Columbus enacted policies of forced labor in which natives were put to work for the sake of profits. Later, Columbus sent thousands of peaceful Taino Indians from the island of Hispaniola to Spain to be sold. Many died en route. Though Christopher Columbus is dead, many people say colonization is alive and well. The definition of colonization is the action or process of settling among and establishing control over the indigenous people. Though people say colonization is over, we are still feeling its effects and how indigenous people are treated and how it affects people's perspectives. Renzo Moyano is an activist who works with issues of Native history and Native people's rights. He believes that Christopher Columbus will always play a major role in history and that today people should listen more to indigenous people and nations.
Recognition, like basically as a world, we need to be listening to indigenous nations. Like we need to be listening to them, and putting them on the same kind of pedestal that we put, UN spokespeople. UN representatives, world leaders, because they've been such a marginalized group historically for so long that there is no way that we can like politically or ecologically, socially or culturally heal without their input. Like there's just no way.
Mr. Moyano argues that Columbus' legacy of colonization negatively affects children from a young age. He says that for children of color, seeing that white or lighter is beautiful makes them act and feel negatively about who they are.
That mentality, as soon as you open yourself to the diversity of who you are and not just who you've been told you are, I feel like that's when the real decolonial process starts. So to me, colonization is basically the imposing, forceful imposing of a way of life that is foreign, that is invasive, that is not native, that is not your own. Now you kind of start like agreeing with the colonizer, like you start accepting what how they see beauty, how they understand development, how they understand progress. You know, when you become colonized, you subscribe to those things. You start seeing whiter or lighter skin toned as more beautiful and darker skin toned as less beautiful. You start seeing whiter skin toned as cleaner or purer or just in every sense, like all of the better characteristics of human beings. You start subscribing that and kind of pushing that towards one side of like the light spectrum, and then you see everything that's darker as worse. And then what that does to you is horrible, because at some point you're gonna have to acknowledge who you are. And if you look at yourself in the mirror, you know, and you're brown or if you're black, from a very early age, that's going to have a very detrimental effect. Colonization has a detrimental effect on all black, brown, colonized peoples that live in a colonial state, that grow up in a colonial state. Because it starts from very little. It starts from very young. It starts from when a little black or brown girl gets like a white Barbie doll, and, you know, already the you know, you start infusing like Eurocentric ideas to everything.
Bringing population and making the New World known is something that Christopher Columbus did achieve. We wouldn't be here in America if Christopher Columbus hadn't came to the New World. Although he did amazing things, we can't ignore the cruelty and dehumanization that he caused. So the real question is, should we celebrate Columbus Day? What is your opinion?